21st, 2:02 p.m. I'm going to call this special meeting of the Common Council to order. We do have an abbreviated order of business, which will be public comment, and then the legislation that was referenced in the agenda. We will be saying the pledge at the beginning. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Friend, Miola, Irvin, Beatrice, Williamson, Colosimo Testa, DeBrango, Galimi, all present.
Thank you. Just for the record and anyone who's tuning in to the live stream, we do have Council at Large Colosimo Testa on WebEx today, joining from her place of work, actually at the school. All right, so we do have public comment period, which I will call in just a moment. I just wanted to reference that today's meeting is regarding proposed ordinance 14, adding a new traffic schedule, ordinance amending lane designations, that's ordinance 15, ordinance 16, ordinance adding new traffic schedule, 17, ordinance amending truck zone, and 18, which is on the agenda today, but not part of the other group that I mentioned, which is Resolution 18, a resolution withdrawing permission to conduct a trial program is set forth in a resolution adopted October 19th, 2022. These are on the floor today, but the things I listed are not voted on yet. Public comment period. The first person signed up to speak, Danielle Padula, if you could please come forward. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. It's at the podium. Are you in agreement with this?
Oh, I am.
All right, please state your name and you may begin.
Hello, my name is Danielle Padula. I am the Executive Director of Broadway Theater League of Utica, and I'm here tonight, or today, since 2 o'clock is so convenient for a meeting on a Friday, to ask you to vote no today for the complete streets. I'm not asking for you to vote no to the concept. I'm asking you for more time. Broadway Utica is affiliated with the Stanley Theater. The arts in Utica is constantly dismissed. Through COVID, we have been threatened with a building and a parking lot next door, and now our safety, jobs, and economical impact are being questioned. I am extremely passionate about my job. I'm extremely passionate about this city, and I'm asking you to have educated conversations with businesses, employees, and people of this city. I have listened to the lack of conversation around these lanes. I have witnessed an incomplete study with it not even passing the Stanley Theater. I have spent countless hours on the phone with trucking companies. For instance, on February 21st, when Annie came to the Stanley Theater, and we welcomed over 3,000 patrons. Like I said, I'm extremely passionate. Into the theater that day, there was a lot of talk of complete streets on the news. And that morning, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, we got a call from a trucking company saying, are we gonna be able to get in? And I have to communicate this message and disrupt my whole life for some people at this table that do not understand what we go through as a business, not an owner, but operating. I am a nonprofit. I receive zero funding, either does the Stanley from the city of Utica. I am asking you to include us in this conversation. I have 8 tractor trailers spending nearly 2 weeks here in September. I have hundreds of people coming to the city. That is only what Broadway Utica does, regardless of what the Stanley does, what could be 2 or 3 times more as us. I am one person, but I'm asking you to vote no today for time. Let's just talk about the road diet. Let's talk about what it needs to look like, how we can, include everybody. This is not inclusive. On the drawings I received, it does not go past Firestone when you're heading south on Genesee Street. I see no bike lane past. Why are you jeopardizing our industry? This is an outlet for so many people, and a dying outlet, not to mention. We employ 60 to 70 union people every night. We welcome thousands of patrons into these doors. I'm asking you to please sit with me, to talk to me, and have an educated conversation with the right trials. We are undergoing the biggest transformation in downtown Utica right now. We have seen what Nexus does and what it's gonna do in the hospital. My children are being raised in the city. I was raised in the city. I want things like this more than anything, but they need to work for everybody. There has to be a policy and a procedure in place for safety, for economical impact, for inclusiveness. I am asking you, please, from the bottom of my heart, to vote no today, and let's talk about this further. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Wilsey? And I have to ask, because it is in the rules of order, you are here as a group with Linda?
Linda is my director of programming and head of logistical organization for shows for ingress and egress.
Okay.
So she is here as a representative of the Stanley Theater.
Okay, so according to the rules of order, together you will receive 4 minutes. If Linda
I
can-
won't
Yeah.
be that long.
Okay,
I don't
thank you.
think so.
Thank you.
I'm actually here to dovetail on everything Danielle Padula.
Hang on just one second.
Do I have to say who I am? Oh, I'm sorry.
The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
State your name and you may begin. Thank you.
Lisa Wilsey, Executive Director, Stanley Theater, and the board chair of the newly minted Film Commission, Film Utica, that operates out of the Stanley Theater. As I was starting to say, I completely dovetailing off of what Danielle Padula said, I am 110% behind everything she just said. I think there does need to be engagement, more discussion with key stakeholders, especially on the 200 block here in Genesee. I'm here to tell you that my staff and I have talked about this. I've met with Katie, of course, and I've talked with Celeste in the past, last summer. We are pro-bike. I just cannot advocate for it in front of this building. The map that the council was given about 180 days ago was a aerial shot of Genesee Street prior to 2008. It was several years old when you all voted on that. And I know this because the loading dock is not in this picture. And that loading dock is what propelled the business of the Stanley to bring in Broadway Tech and the very large concerts that we have today. The sustainability of the theater is at stake, but more so the safety. And I don't mean what the DOT talked about with safety with cars and bikes and all that. What I'm talking about are the multiple tractor trailers that come in with blind spots that are very wide, that carry cases that are thousands of pounds, that if they fall on someone could hurt them. It could probably kill them, according to one of my stagehands. So please, I implore you today, as Danielle said, we are going through a transformation. A lot of the discussion has talked about the hospital, but we have not talked about Nexus and the 350 to 500,000 visitors a year it's anticipated to bring. We haven't talked about Bag Square and what they're trying to do for development there. We're not talking about the multiple vacancies in downtown that have yet to be filled, the new housing that's coming. There's so many pieces that I implore that we let our city grow organically, stabilize, and then let's re-engage this. And if I can't advocate for it, then I would love to talk about rerouting the path, perhaps on a safer street. So it's a win for those that want it, and it puts peace of mind to those who are concerned about it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Linda? Ian Owen, please come forward. Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Please state your name and you may begin.
My name is Linda Iannone, and I am the Director of Booking and Events at the Stanley Theater. I do handle all of the ingress for the trucks that come in for not just Broadway, but for other events that we have at the theater. Very often you will see buses coming in for children's shows. The last one we had 41 buses. They will definitely clog up one lane of traffic for at least an hour in the morning or in the afternoon. It is a hazard for any driver not having 2 lanes, because where will they go? Also, when we have the big trucking companies come in, the tractor trailers are 8.5 feet wide, and they are 72 feet long. With a cab, it's 85 feet long. These tractor trailers have to make huge turns to back into the Stanley Dock. They do hold up traffic. Now, putting bicycle lanes in there, it will definitely be a hazard for the trucking companies because they may not see a bicycle. We have to have people out there directing traffic. And I've seen bicycles coming north on Genesee Street. It's downhill. They go fast. It would be so much better to reroute that bike lane around the back of the Stanley somehow. I urge you to vote no on this trial period as it stands to go forward. We need to have better ingress at the Stanley than this will provide. I'm looking at the map. The bike lane goes directly by the marquee. Where will people be dropped off in the evening when there's a show? Think about that. It is very, very dangerous. We need this to be a little safer for the Stanley. Thank you.
Morella Picmez, the final speaker. Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. Please state your name and you may begin.
My name is Morella Pecmez. I'm currently running for the First Ward Common Council. I am not in agreement with the complete streets. Multiple reasons. It is absolutely not safe. I myself live on Brinkerhoff and I avoid Genesee Street at all costs because there has been multiple times that I've almost got hit. People don't know which lanes to use. And you got to think about the safety of everybody. I am all for pedestrians and bike lanes, but I agree with Linda. I do think it should be rerouted. I don't think it's the safest place to have a bike lane, to be honest. And you got to think during the winter what's going to happen when the hospital is finished. How are the emergency vehicles going to get from place A to place B safely and in timely manner to make sure that whatever needs to be done. But also, none of the constituents that I have spoken to, nor the businesses, had any input within the complete streets, and I feel like it's completely wrong because they are going to be impacted the most. So that's basically it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That was the final.
They just got here, Mike Gelati. I'm not sure if he wanted to speak because they just walked in. It's too late.
The public comment sign up was over, but were you here to speak or just witness the meeting? I think we're good. You guys are just here to witness the meeting? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you, Councilman Beatrice. Okay, so that closes public comment period. Thank you. Councilperson Colosimo Testa, you still are there, right?
I am here.
Okay, all right. Just double checking, you know, to make sure the AV equipment's on and working. So we're on to the ordinances and the resolution. They are sponsored by Councilmember Aiello, but as we move through them, I'll ask for a second. Before we move on, if any of the council people would like the floor before we move these pieces, now is the time. Councilman DeBrango.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd like to speak a little bit on the Genesee Street plan. I agree wholeheartedly with the speakers. I think it needs more time. I think it was rushed. I think there's confusion down there. I've heard from many constituents, many business owners, many people that worked in the bank, a lot of the banks down there, that they're not happy with the pattern. So I think we should wait. I think let's wait till Nexus is in full gear. Let's wait till the hospital's in full gear. Don't forget, I just drove by St. Luke's yesterday. I mean, you can't find a parking spot over there. There's going to be both hospitals, the traffic from both hospitals coming in this downtown area. And you're going to have confusion. And I don't think it's the right time to make the change and try to channel everybody into one lane. I've heard I've seen many close calls when I was driving through Genesee Street. I've seen truck drivers parked in the middle lanes, slushing through the snow, trying to beat the traffic, running through with a cart. I don't know how they could even get through the parked vehicles because the space is so thin there for them to walk through with a cart. So I think it's just, I don't think it's the right thing to do at the time. I think we should wait. I think let's give the hospital a chance to grow. Let's get it up and running, and take a look at it. Maybe not this summer, but the following summer, and do it the right way. Get the business people downtown involved. Get the community involved. Get their ideas. Sit down in a room, whether it be the council chambers here, and we can talk about what's best for the businesses down there. It was rushed, and I just don't think it's the right time to do it. I think we should wait, sit back, bring it back to the 4 lanes, 2 heading north, 2 heading south, and look at it in the summer of '25. So that's my opinion, and I'll be voting no to any changes to downtown. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I have the floor, please?
You may.
Mark, you want to go next?
Councilman Miola, you have the floor.
Well, colleagues, we heard from CNS Engineering. They gave us a complete study on this that cost the city $13,000 on just this intersection alone. We heard from the DOT, Department of Transportation. Now, you probably guys know what I do all day long. I do scene photos, traffic, lines, skid marks, you name it, on intersections. And when the DOT comes in front of us and tells us that it's safer to bring the 4 lanes down to 3 lanes, they are the ones with the knowledge. We're not. It's that simple. And even if we do it temporarily until either the hospital opens up and we need to change it back to 4 lanes after that, that's fine. But the city has to take some direction right now for those streets, no matter what we do. All right? So in my opinion right now, we have to follow what the Department of Transportation is advising us, because they are state. They give us funding for the state road, 5S, in that intersection. They advise us of all our intersections when we need help. So they're the authority. Their authority when it comes to roads. And I understand the passion that we may have problems with the hospital. We may have problems upstairs. And if we have some problems with the Stanley, I'm positive that we'll block 2 lanes or whatever they need to unload those trucks and to make that property continue the way it goes for their business. Not without a doubt in my mind. I know the mayor would be congenial to help them, without a doubt. So, of course, we're stuck with this determination. It's something that the state advised us. It's something that we need to move forward on, because we have to go one way or the other way. People need to know what direction motorists in that direction, how to travel. So we have to make a decision today. Thank you.
Can I?
Come back. I'm going to let everyone. Councilman Beatrice?
Yeah, so a couple things about speaking on that survey. I had a little problem. The lady did a beautiful job doing the presentation. However, I had a real problem. They did a survey, and in the PowerPoint, they're showing me pictures of Syracuse. They're showing pictures of all over. During the survey, there wasn't one picture of Utica. The survey was done one day, and nobody mentioned that it's a 2-part survey, and the main part of the survey was to be done around the hospital for traffic lights. That wasn't mentioned, okay? But that's what happened there. She couldn't answer us when we asked, what do we do when a bus pulls over? She looked like she had blinders on when we were asking questions, and quite frankly, I felt bad for her, because it wasn't her fault that she got questioned like this. They did a survey. As far as the state, what they're saying, she's saying all over the area, countrywide, that it's safer 3 lanes than 4. And that may be, but did we really do our research in Utica? Deputy Chief Noonan tells us it went from 11 accidents the year before to 7. Does that? Oh, I'm sorry, 14 to 11. Okay.
14 to 11.
Okay.
22% drop.
Okay. So does anybody look at that? Dave Short tells me that we saved over $200,000 in salt this year because there was no snow, no it was a very light winter. Three accidents different. In my point of view, I don't think we had a problem before, and I don't think we need to change it now. Thank you.
Councilman Williamson, you were requesting the floor prior, so you have it now. Thank you.
You know, when we first voted on this a few months ago, I was under the impression, my understanding, I'm not sure who said it, but everybody was notified on Genesee Street, all the businesses. And as I find out more and more, I got the Festa Kunden. Everybody just told me what I wanted to hear. And it's wrong, because I went to a lot of businesses down there, and they said they didn't talk to anybody from that area who represented that area. I'm not sure who did it, who said it, but the businesses weren't involved. And on top of that, we also have a lot of buildings that are not occupied right now. They're being redone. The old building down there by the Adirondack building's being redone. Bank Place is being redone. You got Obelson Apartments being redone. I'm not sure what the impact's gonna be when those things are all completed within a year or so. But I was under the impression that all the businesses were notified, and apparently they were not. So I'm not sure who said it on the floor, but we should look back and see who said that. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of debate, I'd like to ask if there's anyone who's going to speak who is speaking in favor of this. I'd like to call them now.
I'd like to speak.
Councilperson Aiello, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and speaking. There are a few things I want to address. We say it's been rushed. The bigger picture is this has been going on for over 10 years now. These conversations started in 2012. The drawings we see today are also compromised because businesses were spoken to over the years. And then back in the day, I'll say it again, there was a median down the middle. There was options for diagonal parking. We compromised in a lot of spots to make it what it is today. You see delivery zones in the middle because delivery truck drivers asked for that, and they still do. Carrying on, we talk about, you say there's no problem. There's never been a problem before. If it's not broke, don't fix it. We are ranked number 17th in the state for the most pedestrian accidents. If you actually go by capita, then we are ranked 10th in the entire state. And if you look at the actual map, the reason we are ranked that is because of Genesee Street. When lanes are made over the size that they need to be, the more reckless cars will drive, and that is what we are seeing. People are talking about the growth that's coming. Can people just start also focusing on actual numbers in these arguments? We need to talk about 4 lanes of roads is meant for 15,000 to 20,000 plus cars a day. Our average cars, we are down to 7,000 cars a day. So even if we double that, if somehow we double the population of cars, then maybe we can start talking about what makes sense with the 4 lanes. That's not where we're at. People don't, and then they say that Genesee Street is too busy for bike lanes, which doesn't make sense either. I feel like the busiest streets should have the most modes of transportation to get to. I just feel like that's actually like a pretty standard thing, especially when we looked at, like I said it on Wednesday, we went from 62,000 people in population to 65,000. We had 2,000 more cars on average a day on Genesee Street 10 years ago. Now we're at 7,000 average cars a day. People aren't all driving here. We want to take pride in all the different people who are here and different modes and abilities. I represent hundreds of people on these districts, and so do you at large. And I hear you all talk about all the people who don't want it and don't like it and who align with your values, but I don't hear you representing the people who are asking for it, which also aligns with what we heard from New York State DOT, what we hear with safety. And then I hear people say that nobody was talked to, we need more input, and I will echo what we said with the Stanley. We'll keep working with them. I went to many load-ins. I went to the night shows. I went to the day where we watch the kids come in. One of the things I do want to make stand out here too, just to clarify, is when we look at the road for the Stanley, what is presented is 8 feet parking spots, the 5 feet width bike lanes, and then you have 11-foot wide lanes. This 60-foot wide street is not changing. The width of the road will stay the same. Just like you use the road now to maneuver delivery trucks as you do and need to, we will keep accommodating that with this new road design. Just like the same way that UPD will come down and they monitor people to get in and out of their cars, and we already block off lanes to accommodate your roads. It's amazing, and we'll keep doing that. The same way when the delivery truck driver will pull over to the side of the road, this bike lane, safety lane, call it what you want, will actually now give this wide truck 13 feet of space. And it's okay to block a bike lane. It's absolutely okay. Then when that happens, we resume with the rest of the road. There's the other thing that I keep hearing is people giving examples of when I drive through Genesee Street. We're trying to make downtown a place you come to, not just drive through it. If you want to get through it, take the arterial, or just, you can get through Genesee Street still. At peak hours, they said with the worst case scenario numbers, we're expecting 15 to 25 seconds extra time. And frankly, I'm a little offended that people don't want to spend an extra 25 seconds in downtown, but we'll get there. Complete Streets is meant to accommodate people of all abilities. Yes, we talked about McCardivan Apartments. We have aging population. We have people now with babies who live on the street in these lofts, and they want to enjoy it where we live. This is because of the input of people. And I know there's people who don't like it, but I also think that comes down from the people who, some leaders who either were misinformed or started a lot of conversation in the beginning before we actually knew what was going to happen. And it spiraled out of control. And I tried to communicate as best as I could with the facts. And you don't have to listen for me if you don't want to, but read the surveys if you want yourself. Read the CNS engineering reports. Listen again to what New York State DOT has to say. This is the safer method. And it's meant to actually increase economic development throughout. It does across the country. And this is just, if we want downtown to grow, if we want Utica to be what it needs to be, we can't keep going back to these old ways. 4 lanes doesn't serve us. 3 lanes is all the cars need for our 7,000 average cars a day. I can't reiterate that enough. So again, please go back to the numbers and the actual arguments here, and then we can actually create something of how Complete Streets does work and look for Utica. So, but today I think we should move on voting this through. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? What you would like the floor? Councilperson Friend.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I want to echo, I guess, what both Councilman Miola and Councilwoman Aiello said. Our intuitions don't serve us very well in this instance. Expert advice serves us when it comes to decisions like this. Engineers, Department of Transportation, Public Safety, everybody points in the same direction, which is that we need to reduce from 4 lanes to 3. And that is the expert advice. And I'm not in the least bit interested in substituting I majored in philosophy and English. I don't think that I know as well as traffic engineers and Department of Transportation and people who study rates of car accidents what will make for a safe street. So I will be voting for this today because it's clear, the evidence is overwhelming, that this will make our city safer, and we'll all have to get used to a slightly different pattern for the sake of public safety. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else before I have one thing to say as well, but I'll wait until after. Okay, Councilperson.
All right,
Brando,
I just want to go back to the subject of accidents. I know they did a survey, and then last year compared to this year, during the 6-week or 10-week time frame, 14 accidents to 11. There's a lot of other factors in that. I mean, you don't know what the weather conditions were in 2022. In the middle of January, February. We did have a favorable winter. There wasn't too much snow and ice. So you can't really judge, well, there's 14 accidents in 2022 and 11 because a new road structure was in place. We only had 11. The factor was we don't know what the weather was. We don't know what caused these accidents. It could have been sleet, ice, snow, rain. You don't know what it is. So I don't think we should base that 20% decrease on the survey that was done in 22 and 23. That's all I wanted to get out there because I think it's just false information. I don't know if we had a more brutal winter in 2022 versus 2023. So that's all I just wanted to reiterate to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may I have the floor to respond?
You may.
Just with that one sentence, it reminds me of decreasing the amount of lane changes is proven to reduce accidents. So that's a part where complete streets of these one lanes and not swerving in and out now with two traveling lanes helps to reduce accidents. Thank you.
Is there anything else? All right, I'm going to retain the floor for a few moments. Before I begin, I just wanted to state that I'm going to just state certain things. I'm going to ask some general questions. Oh, yeah, Councilperson Testa, Colosimo Testa. Are you there?
You worried because it's quiet, Frank?
Yeah, yeah. I can see. Well, she's got a class, but she's got it in her ear. I'm keeping track of it. All right, so first off, the state of the city. Sam, if you wouldn't mind muting, that would be greatly appreciated. Some of the things I'm going to say were already stated, so I'll be brief. We all know the hospital isn't online yet, but we also know it was referenced in the CNS study. Some of the things that were not necessarily discussed were the fact that the Mayrow building is completely empty at this point. The Kempf building is completely empty at this point, et cetera. On one side of this, I feel like there's an understanding that they want to change how the structure of Genesee Street works prior to all the influx of these people, so they could see the city developing in a different way. On the other side of this, which after I'm done talking, you'll know, which I'm on, there's the idea that we want to see the current commerce and the current safety continued so that we could see the Kempf building repopulate, see the Mayrow building repopulate, see the hospital come down before we want to experience what we want to change. So right now, we're in a state of flux, and there aren't as many people down here. I've worked downtown since 2008. Even back then, I've seen more people down here because there's such an increase in vacancy. With the hospital there were also 30 some odd businesses in that business district as well before the hospital was built. Granted, we have construction people. So moving on. When the original trial, when the original trial started over by the Obelston Apartments a couple years ago, I assumed that we would be asking this question, so I started delving into how this might actually work. Years ago, we did implement in our code of ordinances the complete street policy, which when things like this would be undertaken, we would use that complete street policy. So as an actual representative, started looking into this. And the reality is, downtown Genesee Street as is not inclusive of what I would think of as a multimodal city, okay? Which means pedestrians, bicyclists, people of different abilities, vehicles, delivery trucks, etc., and all the scope of businesses and residences that go along with it. So it can't stay as is. That's a known. But then when this started, I assumed, and I did give a presentation to the council a few weeks later, that we would take part in what we had in our city code is the complete streets policy, in which case we would all come together, get the business together, businesses, the residents alike, and come up with a plan. The reality is multimodal traffic has to be a priority. The bike lanes. I want to discuss the bike lanes for a moment because this is one of the things that I'm concerned with, genuinely. Now, the trial only went from Oriskany Street to Court or Hopper, depending on the side of Genesee Street you're on. What that did was allow for the width of bike lanes to exist in the piece of the trial that happened. And although reducing the lanes and safety have been referenced multiple times and why this is brought to the table, not necessarily the bike lanes, I want to discuss the bike lanes for a minute. As you can see in the full implementation, shortly after Cornelia Street, or just in line with Cornelia Street, the bike lanes go away and it becomes a multimodal lane where bicycles are supposed to coexist with traffic. At this juncture, there are people who are requesting for this to be, quote, extended further south because they want the bike lane. And I do want people to realize that for the duration of many parts of Genesee Street, the reason that's not on here is because the width is so greatly reduced after downtown. The next thing I want to address is safety, and that's why I keep bringing up the bike lanes. I've mentioned this before, on record, I believe, and definitely in conversations with the council people. The National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration has looked at this for over a decade. Absolutely using Complete Streets policy in New York and creating multimodal pathways, in which case, for example, you'd have 4 lanes on Genesee Street still, but those right lanes would actually be multimodal lanes, in which case you have to have drivers and cyclists sharing the road, is a different implementation that also may very well be acceptable under the Complete Streets policy if we used it. The reason I'm mentioning this is after Cornelia Street, the bike lanes are gone and it's multimodal anyhow. What the Highway Traffic Safety Administration has found is that bike lanes, specific bike lanes, and this is documented, have shown to cause an increase in fatalities of bicyclists. Oddly enough, injuries went down, but fatalities went up. This was heavily researched, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is recommending that multimodal traffic, in other words, having the bikes in the lane with the drivers because they're visible to the drivers, they're part of the actual traffic flow, is the safest way for a bicycle to travel, especially in urban settings. So there's a lot of subjectivity going on about safety, but there is another side of this story, and it doesn't have to be no bikes or bikes. We absolutely can use the Complete Streets policy in the future if we would like to initiate an absolutely inclusive for multimodal functionality into downtown between Cornelia Street and Oriskany Street. The next thing I want to mention is the safety that was referenced by the DOT. And this is on record. When asked, the regional director of the DOT stated that generally, across the country, it is regarded that reducing lanes of traffic from 4 to 3 is safer, generally. CNS, when asked, said this was a high-level study, okay? Our intention from everyone on both sides of this is safety of pedestrians, safety of cyclists, safety of everyone who's on the road and not on the road. But to state that a comment that going from 4 lanes to 3 is generally safer and not consider the fact that on this plan, there's something incongruent with what the National Highway Safety and Traffic Administration has data and statistics on for bicyclists is crazy to me. And I do believe we absolutely should, one, be going back to 4 lanes, but we still have to absolutely go back to the drawing board and say, how do we implement the Complete Streets policy? Which again, we didn't use. We did a road diet. There's a difference. There's a difference. The process. Some people mentioned the businesses. People can argue back and forth, but literally to this day, I still have businesses calling me saying, no one has come to speak to me about this. Multiple business, okay? It was only 4 today specifically, but 4, all right? The other piece of this is that the public was misled on different things. They were. I'm not talking to anyone specifically right now, but I have multiple people hawking me down, asking me when the bike lanes will be run from Oriskany Street to New Hartford. There's a reason for that, because they've been led to believe that's possible and will be happening. I also have the Utica Roadrunners calling me and talking to me and visiting me on the street while on St. Patrick's Day, etc., saying, when are you going to make sure you drive that lane all the way up to New Hartford so we can run in the road? Technically, they're not even supposed to be in that bike lane. Pedestrians on foot are supposed to be on the sidewalk. For some reason, I'm the person who has to bear that news to them. That bothers me, because everyone else is just letting them think, as soon as that bike lane is there, they could be in it, okay? As far as the overall discussion, this has been a long process, but this has not been an open process at all. Yes, I will give Councilperson Aiello Credit to the fact that she has done tons of work on this with the engineering department, et cetera, but we did not follow the complete streets process, and this council as a whole did not work on this together and bring the representation of their constituents that they each represent to this room to talk about this. They did not. I want to see this go back to 4 lanes because of the state of the city as a whole. But I absolutely understand, support, and want to implement the complete streets policy so that I could see that bicycles are a part of this. I'm one of these people. I've parked in one place all day. I've walked to multiple businesses. I've walked here. I've gone shopping, and I still haven't been back to my car. And as soon as the summer hits, I'll be riding my bike to work. So I understand, and I've been doing this since 2008, and I want to see it properly implemented. Right now, we're putting people in a bike lane that is only existing for a couple blocks, and then they have to be with the traffic anyways. That's all I have today. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. President, would I be able to ask a question of the administration?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can we ask a question of the administration? Do you mind if I open up? Hello, engineering and planning. Can you speak on, did you do a complete streets checklist? What is your process? What is your opinions on this? And hear from you guys directly.
I was asked to do the checklist, which I believe I did on October 22nd of last year. It's a little bit odd. The checklist doesn't really result in anything. It's answering some questions, but it doesn't ask for a recommendation. It doesn't give a means to arrive at a recommendation. So it's done. I have it. It's available.
Can I ask a question? When did the trial start?
Offhand, I'm not sure of the date.
Before the map we voted on? Did you use the complete streets policy to generate the map we implemented as a trial? Which was printed in 2012, I mind you.
Ask the question again.
Did you use the complete streets policy last year to create the map they used as a trial?
I didn't create the map. I just answered the checklist.
Okay.
I filled in the checklist.
Yeah.
And that's all it essentially is filling in
Exactly.
responses.
So would you say
Absolutely.
nothing would change if you did it before or after when the trial started, based on the checklist?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, let's move it. Let's go.
All right, your votes, I guess.
Let's go.
Mr. President, I'd like to
So-
make a motion to pull ordinance 14. Can I just do one at a time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, let's move on to votes. Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to pull ordinance 14 out of committee.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any opposed to pulling this from committee? Councilperson Testa, are you available for a vote? She's on mute, sorry. She's still there. Oh, no. You know what?
Have to do an amendment.
Well, I see audio, but I wonder. I was gonna say, I saw her talking, but it was on mute. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right. Any opposed to pulling ordinance 14 from committee? Okay, ordinance 14 is on. Say again. Councilperson Testa? Okay, it's on the floor for a vote. Okay, ordinance adding a new traffic schedule. I'm just going to read the ordained, which is the actual legal part of the ordinances. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica that Chapter 2-16, Article 4 of the Utica City Code of Ordinances shall. What's that? What's that?
Article 9.
Oh, 9. Sorry. Oh my lord. Blurry writing today. AC's out in my office. Of the Utica City Code of Ordinances shall be amended by adding section 216.385 entitled Schedule AD. Is that correct? AD? AD? Okay, all right. AD, Traffic Lane Reduction Addition, to read as follows. The following streets, avenues, and boulevards have traffic lane modification. Genesee Street from Oriskany Street to Cottage Place, reduced from 2 lanes to 1 lane of traffic in each direction. Further ordained that the proper pavement markings be erected where necessary. I'm gonna have the council vote on the board. I will ask for a roll call vote from Colosimo Testa. Councilwoman Colosimo Testa, how do you vote?
Nay.
All right, hold the rest of them. Okay, 5 nays. Okay. Okay. Clear the board, please. No, Councilwoman Colosimo voted, so it was defeated. That's, yeah. Right. Ordinance 15. Would anyone like to pull ordinance 15 from committee?
Make a motion to pull ordinance 15 from committee.
Ordinance amending lane designations. There's a motion to pull from committee. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. President.
Any opposed to pulling from committee? Okay, it's on the floor for a vote. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica, 216-382 of the Utica City Code regarding lane designations is hereby amended to include the following: Genesee Street turning left on a Cottage, Genesee Street turning right on a Dakin, etc., ending with Genesee Street turning left onto Oriskany Street. Your votes. Councilperson Testa, how do you vote?
Nay.
Okay. Oh, these lights are working today. Okay, okay, all right. All right.
Make a motion to pull ordinance 16 out of committee. Oh.
Second? Oh, thank you. Friend is the second. Any opposed? It's on the floor for a vote. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica that Chapter 216, Article 9 of the Utica City Code of Ordinances shall be amended by adding Section 216-386, Schedule 8E, bicycle lanes to read as follows. Further ordained that proper pavement markings be erected where necessary. Your votes. Councilperson Testa, how do you vote?
Nay.
Make a motion to pull ordinance, wait, that was 17 we just did, right? 18 out of committee? Wait, no,
Second.
17.
17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
17, thank you.
Oh, I thought you were saying 17, Celeste. I'm sorry, Councilman.
I said second.
She said second, yes. Ordinance 17 out of committee. Anyone opposed? It's out of committee. Ordinance amending truck zone. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica, 216-383 of the Utica City Code of Ordinances regarding truck zone is hereby amended to include the following: Genesee Street, center lane between Court. Genesee Street, center lane between Bank, etc. Genesee Street, center lane between Elizabeth Street and Bleecker Street for loading and unloading. Further ordained that proper pavement markings be erected where necessary. Your votes. Councilperson Colosimo Testa, your vote.
Nay.
There's one more piece in committee that was on the agenda.
I'd like to pull 18 out.
Second.
Okay. Williamson, DeBrango. This is sponsored by council members Williamson, Colosimo Testa, DeBrango, and Beatrice. Any opposed to pulling this from committee?
Me?
Me.
Okay, please note 2. Thank you very much. It is on the floor for a vote, however. A resolution withdrawing permission to conduct a trial program as set forth in a resolution adopted October 19th, 2022. Be it resolved, the Common Council for the City of Utica does hereby officially withdraw said permission of 10/19/2023 and directs the streets involved be returned to the pattern that were in place prior to October 19th, 2023, weather permitting.
we'll stripe it in May.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta wait till the snow.
Well, I
or
gotta get it
something.
striped.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
stripes are gone, I gotta
Yeah.
get it striped.
Okay.
That's why we're putting.
Mr. President, may I qualify my vote? When you-
Absolutely, absolutely.
Go ahead. Okay. So I will be voting no on this. And I want to say, whatever dangers you think in this room comes from Complete Streets pales in comparison to some of the leadership in this room and the misinformation spread and the people who refuse to look at the data and listen to people and talk with people. Mr. Durango, I'm talking to you too, of people in this room and in this city.
I could hear you. I don't have to look at you.
The floor.
I could hear you.
Maintain the floor.
I could hear you.
Maintain the floor, please.
I don't have to look at you.
Councilperson Aiello has the floor. Thank you. Please.
You're not
Well,
going to intimidate
Please.
me.
I
You're not going to
haven't-
intimidate me.
Please.
I know I'm not. I haven't felt heard from you.
Councilperson Aiello, address the chair.
Thank you,
That would
Mr.
help.
President. I
Thank
haven't
you.
felt heard from people in this room. I don't see why this wouldn't pass in the sense of I'm just asking people to believe in Utica a little bit more, but it's fine if you don't. For whatever vision you have set in your ways for 4 lanes, I'm glad. I hope you just keep using downtown, keep going right through. Hopefully people stop through and actually want to stay, and we will find other ways to try to create that.
Can I?
I do want to also add, this doesn't actually have to be passed through the city council. We don't need an ordinance. I'm hoping the mayor does turn down this resolution as well. I'm hoping the public safety commissioner will instill Complete Streets and do what's right for the city. I'm hoping that we follow Complete Streets policy like people say in this room. So if you look at this and where you read the legislation, it says the engineering department shall implement Complete Streets where feasible and appropriate. We need to follow our own legislation. This has been on the books since 2016. What Complete Streets have we done? For what? But if you need 4 lanes to keep things the same, I'm asking the Public Safety Commissioner to choose differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, before everyone begins, Councilperson Aiello did state different things that she had discussed before. If you're repeating things in explicit format to just repeat things, I will claw back the floor if it goes on too long, is my point.
Oh.
You have the floor.
Yes, I do. I will be voting for this for the simple reason, I kind of listened to Councilperson Aiello talk about reading everything. Like I've said from day one, I'm not against Complete Streets. I'm against the way it was implemented. 15 minutes before our first meeting, an emergency meeting at the last minute, okay? You want to talk about talking to businesses? It's not my district, but I'm pretty popular in the area, and I know a lot of people down there. None of them were talked to. Again, I'm not against Complete Streets. Do it the right way, and this was not done the right way. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, you may have the floor.
Thank you. On a lighter note, I'd like to just conclude with our budget director. She has an announcement for us before we close the meeting.
Okay, I'll give you the floor last so that it's after all this, since it's on a positive. Okay, thank you. All right, who's next? Anyone? Well, yeah, we gotta get there. And before we vote on this, I wanted to note that multiple times this has been discussed by myself and others, that there are other portions of Genesee Street other than this 4 to 5 block radius that we believe a road diet and the implementation of Complete Streets is not only possible, but will be welcome to the neighborhoods and the development of the city. So I just wanted to make that statement. Nothing else, your votes. This is a resolution. It requires 5 yeas to adopt. Councilperson Testa, how do you vote?
Yay.
Yay? Four yeas.
I'm gonna say it stays the same.
We're not going back to what we were.
Correct.
It stays in the top.
Yep, for now. There's 3 nays.
No, that looks like 5 red. That's 5 red.
Councilman Urban, you're okay with the yay on that, or nay?
I voted nay.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
We have to mark the roads.
Yep.
So what do we do? We're not
When you
gonna
say the
change
Public Safety
them.
Commission, you're referring to the
We
mayor.
have to, we wanna
the
keep them
mayor.
back, we
Okay.
just leave them like it is? We have to mark the roads. It's very dangerous right now. So I think this is a very important vote.
The vote's been taken.
They were all very
So,
important.
I'm
the
just
engineer
saying,
did say he
so what do
would-
we do as a city? What do we do?
Public
me an
Safety
answer.
Commissioner has the legal authority to decide what to do.
First off, hold on.
Yes, he does.
I'm going to take the floor so we can
Get him
conclude
down
the
here.
meeting. No,
Come
we
on
don't.
down, Mayor.
We don't need the mayor down here. The initial 90-day trial already expired. The mayor's the one who extended it. So this is okay that this just got voted down. Okay?
It's on him.
All right, moving on. Heather Mowat, you have the floor. Our budget director.
Next week, I will be sending down the mayor's requested capital plan. There's some equipment the fire department needs. Accompanying that will also be proposed ARPA transfers. And so I didn't want to come down and give this to you last minute. I'd like to request some kind of committee meeting, either the night of the next council meeting or before then, so that we could go through it. Last time I wanted to go through ARPA, we didn't have time. I wasn't given the opportunity to go through all the different projects, where we stand in the projects. I gave all of you up-to-date numbers, but there was nothing, I was not entertained to be asked with questions. So I'm just asking your consideration getting a meeting scheduled.
Do we agree on a date for a meeting? Doesn't matter to me. I'll call
Can
it
we
prior
have it at
to
12
the,
o'clock?
Yeah,
Can
what?
we have it at 12 o'clock on
I think what
Tuesday?
we should do, hey, hold on.
Sure.
Hold on. We have one person, I'm taking the floor. We have one person with us in her ear. When do you need this presented by?
We would
So-
like to ask your consideration at passing it your first meeting of May,
Okay.
okay?
All right, so it's up and coming quickly.
Yes.
So
let's schedule
I
one
don't
at
think
5
we can,
PM.
yeah, I don't think we can, do you want to schedule it before the next meeting, or you just want to not schedule it right now and actually
And I'll have everything
poll
out
the
to you.
actual members to see when we can do it?
I think we can
President,
schedule
Mayor.
5 PM before the next
Well, why don't we,
council meeting.
why don't we schedule it, and we'll see what we can get gone. If it's unanimous, we could pass the capital that night if all the questions are asked. If not, we'll call a special meeting right after that and get it completed. All right?
fine with me. That's
Sound
fine.
reasonable? Mr. President, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, or you guys could do a committee meeting prior to the council meeting.
It's just,
And then be
we
ready.
may, I don't think we need one prior. I think,
All right, okay.
our budget director is very knowledgeable about capital plans.
Oh, I mean, you guys would be ready, not the budget director. She's, all right, thank you.
Make a motion.
You got that, clerk, 5 PM?
Thank you.
Make a motion to get rid of
Next.
We're done?
Yeah?
Second?
Yeah, he seconded.
Okay.
Next meeting,